Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers, and this morning I'm looking at a small book from Oxford University Press, which is just what I think we need, because when I was in the States I had a great deal of difficulty trying to find out more detailed information about some of their court structures, and the one I was very interested in was the American Supreme Court, and this is what this book is called, America's Supreme Court, Making Democracy Work, and it's written by Stephen Breyer. The back, nice little picture, you get a picture of everything there. The actual book itself is standard written text. There aren't footnotes, but there are some useful notes right at the back, which gives you obviously links in to where they've got the basic information, that sort of stuff. And you've also got an index. And as I say, it's a short book. It's 250 pages altogether. There's a Flickr review there. What we've given it as a title is the following: Build Trust, Retain Power. How the American Supreme Court really works. And that's really what this book is about. That's why it's excellent for the jurisprudent, for the academic and the non-lawyer. It's written by a judge, as I say, for lawyers and non-lawyers alike, and it sets out to explain what the American Supreme Court does and how it works. And I think Stephen Breyer meets these aims brilliantly. In considering the recent creation of our own Supreme Court in the UK, which replaced the Lords as the Court of Final Appeal, the publication of this volume in the UK by OUP is nothing if not timely and welcome. And the author, of course, Stephen Breyer, is an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, and he offers the authoritative comment of the indisputably knowledgeable insider. Reading through the text certainly increased our understanding not only of the workings of the American Supreme Court, but of American politics and political history in general. No specialist legal knowledge is required to read this book. But I think it's of much wider appeal than that, because the desire is to understand the role of what the publishers term one of the most controversial and powerful judicial bodies in the world. Controversial, yes, more than a few of the court's decisions have been so, the most notorious being the infamous Dred Scott decision some 150 years ago, which only served to entrench racial discrimination in many parts of the US, so much so that it's often blamed as the catalyst which led to the Civil War. The book covers the background and the aftermath of this decision very well indeed, and it's great from a historic and legal point of view. In the Little Rock case, however, about 100 years later, the court, in our view, redeemed itself in one of the landmark decisions which led to the desegregation of schools nationwide and eventually to the success, for the most part, of the civil rights movement. The book deals objectively with a number of other pivotal and more contemporary issues as well, including Guantanamo, which is an added bonus for the international jurisprudent. As I say, for the American realist school, this is a must, because it gives you a feel as to how they actually go about things. Like any human institution, therefore, the American Supreme Court's not infallible. Despite its flaws, it remains a paradigm of how a judicial body has augmented its power by maintaining trust in a huge, diverse and complex nation, which is the US. Taking a global perspective, what is really controversial is that many or most other countries don't have a Supreme Court of this stature. That includes the UK, of course, up to the back end of 2009. Breyer certainly strikes a responsive chord following recent events which are currently unfolding in the Middle East, with his comment that in earlier times, both here and abroad, individuals and communities settled their differences not in courtrooms under the law, but on the streets with violence. Americans actually treasure the customs and institutions that have helped us to find the better way, and that's a very useful moral, if you like, of what's going on at the moment. The Supreme Court's powers to interpret the US Constitution authoritatively and to strike down as unconstitutional laws enacted by Congress took a long time in coming. The book's description of the process and the journey is simple and compelling, and it gives you a balance, which is what we, of course, have in our democracy here in the United Kingdom. Breyer is adept at explaining issues of mind-boggling complexity in the language of the layman, and that's a gift. In the light of its subtitle, this important book, therefore, does a credible job in explaining how America's Supreme Court continues in its role of making democracy work, to build trust and retain power, and to make democracy work. So thank you very much to Mr. Breyer and to OUP for a lovely little book here. It's well worth reading for everybody concerned. Thank you. Bye-bye.